Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm thrilled to introduce a very special guest, Amber Bell, who is joining us all the way from United States. Amber is one of the well-known Microsoft MVP and a seasoned expert in Microsoft Dynamics GP with over 20 years of experience in training and consultancy. She is the founder of Training Dynamo, a company which is dedicated to transforming how Microsoft Dynamics GP training is delivered. Amber's mission is to make training fun, exciting, and rewarding while equipping the consultant and client with the tools that they need to succeed. So, today in this episode, we are going to dive into Amber's journey, her insight on training, and her vision for the future of Microsoft Dynamics GP. But before we start, I would like to thank Emma for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and it's really exciting to be part of your podcast. It's been a pleasure, really, to get to know so many people doing this for so long. And it wasn't, I haven't been involved in community for the whole 20 years, but as soon as I started meeting people and getting to do events and it just has been such a rewarding addition to what I'm able to do with the direct clients I have locally and clients I have around the country.
Okay. So, Emma, let's take the discussion more into the training terms because you have been actively involved in this area for a very long time. So,
Yeah.
with decades of experience of training Microsoft Dynamics GP clients, how has your perspective on training evolved over the years, and what initially drew you to this domain?
Well, I think something that really I got to learn as I was doing training longer was that people can't absorb we you can as a trainer I could sit there and you could just say start and I can talk and talk and talk but there's a limit on what people can absorb. So I think what I've found is really telling the clients that let's break it into smaller parts. Let's do a shorter amount of time, but do several more sessions. So maybe have them do a little before a lunchtime, have a break, have a like shorter amount in the afternoon, but just really listening and watching people. And I think that's something that has been beneficial is learning what people can absorb and really how they absorb it. Everyone's a little bit different. Some people want you to record a session. Some people like the videos I've done.
Mhm.
I have pre-recorded training available, but some people really just want you to write it down and then they go, let me do it on my own. So you
Okay.
have to listen and you have to get to know people. So whether that's, I've done a lot of on-site training. Nowadays, I do a lot on Teams or Zoom, but you really want to make sure that you're engaging with that person. As far as like why I've got into the domain or to this domain of training and why I focus on it is that I've I really thought I was going to get into doing programming, quite honestly. That's what I had been doing clerical accounting for work, but going to school in the evenings, taking programming, beginning programming classes. I knew some people that ran a company that did programming. I didn't know a lot about it. And I was meanwhile working at different places doing inventory control and payroll and doing all these things, which have proved beneficial now because I understand the inner workings of an accounting department. But when I met up with those friends or people I knew, and was able to start working for them. I actually started working as a receptionist in the office.
Okay.
And then when the opportunity came up, I knew they were going to help me get training. I
Mhm.
actually got certified in GP again with the thought in my head of behind the scenes. But as soon as I started training people, I was hooked. I couldn't imagine not working with people. I do like being behind the scene, figuring out the puzzle of why things don't work or setting up a report. But my favorite part is sitting and showing someone how to make their job easier. So that's why I love doing what I do.
Okay. And Amber, like when we look at back at your career, we can simply see that you previously worked with the Microsoft Dynamics GP partner companies in California as well as in Connecticut. So what inspired you to later decide that yes, it's the right time to start your own company, and how has the transition been for you?
Well, I really am grateful for the time at both companies. Both really helped me to learn a lot. So if anyone is watching from there, I just want to say thank you. That was a very wonderful time. But what helped me decide to start my own business was I had met with other women that worked in the dynamics space. We
Mhm.
actually had an informal lunch. Now that Women in Dynamics is a whole bunch of people that meet. But we met really at the first one in an informal lunch. And I was telling them what my goals were. I was telling them what the direction like I was feeling with the company that I was working at. And they just helped me see the value in what I brought. That training can be the focus of what I do as opposed to part of my overall, work. The other thing they really helped me to see was just taking that leap and that there were people that were right away helping, willing and waiting to refer clients to me because partners and people knew that I could cover the training and they
Mhm.
could focus on what they were good at. So I had people in place and just sometimes I wonder how I made that jump, but I think you probably know when you start doing stuff, it's very rewarding, it's very challenging, but I'm never bored and I've had really wonderful experience working for myself.
Okay, and we can simply see that you founded this training Dynamo to transform how Microsoft Dynamics GP training is delivered. So, what does this transformation training mean to you, and how do you achieve it for your organization?
Well, I think what I found in the places that I worked and also talking to other partners is a lot of people think that like they think of training as more of an afterthought, that their employees can just get into the program and figure it out. And the truth is they can figure out things for the most part once they're in there, especially if they've had other software experience. But
Mm-hmm.
they're not often going to be very efficient. They're going to
Okay.
be doing it a way that gets the job done, but they'll be doing it, trying to do it the way they used to do it, or they'll be doing it in a way that takes 10 steps instead of setting up a feature in the
Yep.
system. An ERP system, a larger accounting software like Dynamics GP or Business Central, they require someone to really help you figure out how to use it. When I started my company, what I wanted to be very clear with companies is that I 100% to my bones believe that the foundation of any system is good, trained people. If you have good trained people, then as you add software and customizations and add-ons, it's going to work better and better. If you have people that are struggling and not telling you what's difficult for them, and you add more software and customizations, you're trying to fill in where those people could be doing better. It's just very important to stop and see the people doing the day to day, not just the decision makers, but the
Mm-hmm.
data entry, day-to-day workers. So by doing that and letting people know, I want to talk to those people. I want to listen to those people. Show me the reports you do. Show me the post-its with your workarounds and the crazy ways you do it in Excel, plus you do a crazy thing in, another software.
Yeah.
So finding those out really help. The other thing I found is that as I've learned more about GP, honestly, I bring it to my clients. So if I learn a new software or a new software that's an add-on, I'll tell them, but also some different pieces of the software. Same with what I'm going to be doing with BC is really a deep dive. I read the manuals. I read the manuals, I watch the videos, and I learn it because then I can pass on what's needed, not just everything. The other thing is that I brought examples. I wrote two workbooks. So this is one,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is the other one I brought, my examples. So
Okay.
the reason I wrote workbooks is that there are people, for me, I like to watch a video, I like to get in-person training, but I like to be able to go back and see screenshots of like how to get to the window, like what the report would look like if it's working well. So I did documentation with full screenshots and how to get to things. So I think helping people with how they like to learn was really important because I found a lot of people just stuck to a script. AP is this many hours. We're going to do this part and this part and this part. Now we're going to move on to the next thing. And you find people a lot of times bridge multiple areas of the system. They
Mm-hmm.
might do purchase orders, but they also might be the same person that's creating something in another part of the system. So finding out what they do and catering it to them. So really listening and making it work for them.
Okay, so Amber, like you show two books. So the book which you have authored so far, is it
Yeah.
available for everyone, or this these books are available only when like they are opt for the training, or like how you deliver it?
Yeah, no, they're available. So the books that I have, those are available on my website. I can ship pretty much anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If the I have partners that'll sometimes buy in bulk, or
Okay.
I'll give them a code for a discount.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anyone's interested in a discount, I'll forward one to you so you can put it in maybe in the notes for the call or the thing. The other thing that I also do is I have them available there on my website. So if you just go to Training Dynamo,
Mm-hmm.
training and then dynamo.com,
Okay.
right there, there's the workbooks. Eventually, I thought of, maybe putting them online on, through Amazon or something like that. But
Right.
it was important to me to have them in color and important to me to have them spiral bound. Whether I do a different thing on the next books I do, you never know. But
Right.
for me, I really wanted them easy to use and durable because I go to clients and they have it up next to their computer. I wanted it easy to use that way.
Correct. Okay, all right. So my next question is, as Amber, look, like you believe that training can be fun, exciting, and rewarding. So how do you inject these elements into your training sessions, and why you think like this approach is important nowadays?
Well, as I mentioned before, a lot is me listening and asking questions. But the other thing I do is as I'm training, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm in person, I watch. I've had people get, end after lunch, everybody's a little tired. I'll
Correct.
involve them in the exercise. So the exercise will be, oh, let's talk about your big raise, and we're going to put in your expense report. And now you went to and stayed at a expensive resort to get some training. So I'll make them tell me different funny things. We'll put that into the example. Just something to keep them motivated and awake. The other thing I do is I figure out what they are going to be doing. So I'll have them include examples. We're
Mm-hmm.
they're a test company for their data or the GP test company, or when I'll be doing BC, I'll be doing BC things. I've been starting doing that. But I stop and I listen and I get them involved. So, if I'm seeing you kind of doze off, whether it's on Teams or Zoom or in person, I make them feel part of it and I ask them questions. I ask them, how will this help you, help you do things. When I do my events, I go out and I sent you some pictures. I'll wear, we're doing an event at the end of in October. I'm going to be speaking at the Microsoft or the Dynamic Community Summit. If
Okay.
we're by Disney World, I'll put on Mickey Mouse ears. I have a bubble gun. I just get people excited, involved, and show them how to help them. So, at the end of the day,
Okay.
the core is it's important training, but keep them awake and involved. They'll learn more.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of the best approach to anyone, because if your training material is exciting, then yeah, it is bit easier for everyone to adopt those concepts in a very easier manner. So that's a great
Yeah.
approach. Okay. And if we talk about your mission, so it is to give Microsoft Dynamics GP partners and consultant the tools, the right tools that they need for the success, right?
Yeah.
So what are the key tools that you prefer, or strategies that you provide to help them to excel in their business? Like what are your
Yeah.
thought on it?
Perfect. Well, a couple of things I do, as I mentioned, I have the workbooks. I
Mm-hmm.
also have prepared training presentations.
Okay.
Some I've worked directly with partners, put it into their templates for whatever present, mostly it's PowerPoint, but I'll put in their, branding, but that they can use with their clients. They can use them for events. I have partners that use them every year, the workbooks and a presentation to do a year-end event for clients.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I do is I've also done a lot of sessions at events. I've lost count. I've done them for years now. But whenever I do a session, I'll include my presentation and notes, and I'll upload into that events portal, whatever they have for the attendees. On
Mm-hmm.
my website, I have tips and tricks. I'm starting to include SQL views. I've been doing more SQL views. I actually use Copilot AI to write them. I know the tables because I've done it for so long, but sometimes figuring out all the joins, I'll go, this is what I have, this is what I'm trying to get. And literally, Copilot will write out the SQL script. And sometimes me and AI get to know each other. We talk back and forth, but I've been publishing some of those or planning to offer those to clients and partners to help them clean up their GP data or really look at things. So just I'm very open with offering the knowledge I have because it
Mhm.
just makes everybody doing better makes everything better.
Correct. Okay, so far, like we have discussed about the tools, strategies, and training approach. But I think there is one more factor that everyone should pay attention to is the challenges. So, what
Yeah.
do you think? Like, what are the most common challenges you see you see in consultants and clients facing during the Microsoft GP training, and how do you address those kind of challenges for them?
Well, I think it varies. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to first listen and you
Mm-hmm.
have to see how people are doing things. Sometimes with clients, you're going to get someone in training that once I did it this way in the old system, it has to be this way in whatever I'm going to do in GP, whatever I'm going to do in BC. I've done it this way 1,000 times, million years. And sometimes they're right. That's the best way to do it. And you have to be adaptable and find a way to make it work. Sometimes that's the answer. Other times you might need to then encourage them to see how it'll be better or why it's important to make a change
Okay.
and not just bring over a bad habit or a bad workaround or I've had clients where I've worked with a lot of people that have had other partners set them up years ago. They've worked
Mm-hmm.
with the product for years and years, and the original team in the accounting was like, it has to be this way, it has to work this way. And I had a client that, for example, their original partner was told, you have to print the invoices and
Okay.
they have to print, I'm going to hold this up to show you. They have to print side to side. Like, so this is how the invoice had to print because
Okay.
old invoices printed on a printer that fed the paper this way. So they liked seeing them the same old way. That meant for years, everyone was doing a funky fold to try to get it in an envelope because all the envelopes are not made for wide paper like that. So that's a situation where you kind of go, okay, I understand, but let's talk about why the defaults are the way they are. So listening and adapting, but also sometimes you're the expert about the software and you have to stand for what the overall picture and why the company is making the change. You have to be able to communicate that in a kind manner. The other thing I find is that sometimes the ability for someone in the accounting department or in the warehouse or anybody on any level, like the person that's doing the stock count or the person that's ordering the supplies or the person that's doing the order entry or customer service,
Mm-hmm.
they know the issues. They don't know how to explain it in what the system needs to do. Like they don't know the
Okay.
fields, they don't know like how that is possible or impossible. They don't know like, well, for you to get that, it wouldn't work with the way the software is. Like it just is impossible. They'll ask for something that is just impossible. Or it's possible, but really it takes a lot of like, this table has to do this, this window has to be this way. So when you talk to a partner or a consultant, sometimes they don't know, if they're newer or just their mindset is, I have to do it this way on both
Okay.
sides. And I've worked as a bridge between the two to go, this is what your goal is, this is what the system can do, let's bring it together. So being that bridge is important. And I think helping them to get that knowledge is important. The other thing too is that often clients and consultants, frankly, have
Mm-hmm.
had to be self-taught. A lot of the things that I've learned are
Okay.
because, again, I've read the manuals and I've tried it over and over in the test company with a million scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking to someone who is self-taught, they may have learned bad habits. They may not know a
Right.
feature exists. They may not know how to use a feature to do something a little bit different. Like I have a client who in GP you can do landed cost.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to add the cost for tax, but it's not in addition to what they're paying the customer. It's in addition to what they're tracking internally between departments. We use landed cost for an internal fee. not something it's designed typically to do, but something since I knew that feature, I was able to take that bridge for the consultant and partner and talk to the client. So figuring out how to make the things work for everyone is sometimes a challenge, but honestly, that's the best part of what I do because it's so exciting to see the people relax when they realize you're there to help them work better. For partners to realize my goal is to not take your client. You guys do an amazing job with what you do, but my goal is to make your client happy with what they're able to do in the system.
Right. And I'm also agree, like paying attention to these kind of obstacle that the client might face is
Yeah.
the right approach, because by doing this, like you are not only helping your team, you are also helping the client and consultant so that they will not face any kind of such scenarios in their projects. So
Yeah.
that's a best approach.
Yeah.
Okay, and like whenever we are talking about the GP, there is one more term that is quite popular, which is ERP system. So,
Yeah.
what do you think, like with the rise of newer ERP system, where do you see the Microsoft Dynamics GP fitting into the future of business technology from for upcoming years?
Well, I think that there are still many, many, many companies that
Mhm.
are doing business in GP that don't have any intention right now to make a change.
Okay.
So how that's going to fit as the announcements have been made for the updates of GP, kind of coming to an end. Things could change. Those announcements dates have been pushed out, but I don't think it's indefinite. So I
Mhm.
think companies need to, my approach has been really you've got to look at your data now. You've got to get your data clean and your process clean. For example, like if you're moving to Business Central, it is a very different system when it comes to how general ledger accounts are set up. It's a different system how customers and vendors are set up, items are set up. So a lot of it is using accounting groups, for example.
Mhm.
And what I'm working with clients to do is let's make GP carry that data with the way that GP works. It's similar as using classes. So you can have vendor classes, item classes, get that cleaned up so that you don't have information you don't need in the system. Like if you don't use vendors, you don't use accounts. I've done several custom SQL views to help you find those and
Mhm.
ways to import updates and changes. The second part of that is that they need to understand what will be vulnerable if Microsoft doesn't update things. So make sure they're on the latest server version, make sure they're on the most supported versions of GP so
Mhm.
that as those announcements are made, they're going to have the benefits of the versions as long as they're available. If they run it longer, if they're running it for whatever reason longer than the supported date, you want to at least be on the most supported version of the server. So I do think there's going to be quite a lot of people in the next few years moving off of GP, but the
Mhm.
best thing to do now is document your processes.
Right.
What are your add-on products? What do you do? What do you need? And make sure you say this has to work for my items have to integrate with this. My customers have to do that. So that as you're getting your demonstrations from other ERPs, you're able to clearly say, no, it won't work unless it does that, so
Mhm.
that you can find one that works. Or like I said earlier, if a better way exists in the other system, listen to that and then
Correct.
test it, because it's going to be a change.
Okay. And let's say if someone is trying to adopt the Microsoft GP, or someone wants to start their career with the GP consultancy. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them to build their expertise and confidence in this area?
So I think if you were starting out as a GP consultant, I think the area you'd want to be able to do is it, and then this is going to be difficult, but you want to be able to do GP, but also learn the other ERPs that people might be moving to that at wherever you're going to work. So I am working on learning BC,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to be able to answer their questions if they're going to stay in GP and then also help them if they're going to move off of GP. As far as how they can learn, there is a lot of videos online from partners for years and years and years on YouTube. There's videos through different user groups that are available. Microsoft it has been adding even recent new training materials on the Learn site for Dynamics GP. that
Mm-hmm.
learn dot dynamics, you have to look up the learn for
Yeah.
GP. I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but they do have them. They're still updating the manuals. They're still updating the what's new. Get into that and join a user group. Join them at all the user groups. Get involved and start learning from your peers and asking questions.
Okay. All right. So now, like, we all can see that you have helped so many persons with your work, but I just wanted to know, like, who were the key people who have helped who have helped you, guided you, or supported you in your journey. So who were those people?
Well, I think when we were kind of preparing, you were like, "Yeah, it can't be the world's longest list." But I will say there are many, many people in the dynamics community and personally that have helped me. I know when I started working with a GP partner,
Mm-hmm.
my best friend, my roommate at the time was I went home and I said, no, it's a step back. I'm going to start as a receptionist. And she's like, Amber, they already told you, you already know that they train people and they'll help you become, do this. And she just was very like she's great. Heather, her name's Heather, but she did a lot to just kind of say this is, keep me going and going, this is what you want to do. She was very supportive, and when I wanted to start a business, so she was really encouraging. My friend
Okay.
Anya, who actually runs the ERP software blog, we worked together at both partners. We worked together in California. She helped me get the job in Connecticut. That's where I live now. And I mean, even recently, she came down, visited me, and helped record a video to help me explain what I'm trying to do to get people their data clean for BC. So between those two, Belinda Allen's been wonderful. I learned I mean, literally, she gave me one of my first clients that I still work with when I went out on my own. And she's just been a sounding board and shares her knowledge. If you sit in one of her sessions, she loves to share knowledge, and she focuses now more on Power BI, which is exciting to see how that works with both BC and GP. I learned GP from a woman named Leslie Vale. She was
Okay.
flown out to San Diego, and she still is. She's just the way she does training. She had examples. She was just engaging. She made us feel part of it. She was doing games and made it just very inspiring and helped me design in my head how I wanted to do training. So there's more and more people than that in all the user groups and other MVPs. David Musgrave, who I still talk to on a regular basis. He's amazing with Dynamics GP. There's just so many people, but those people specifically have just kept pushing me and helping me and lifting me when I've had challenges and exciting news. Those are the people I reach out and let know.
Okay. It's so good to have such people around you so that they can support and we can achieve the common goals as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, Amber, there are many things that we can discuss here with you, but we have limited time. So,
Yeah.
just wanted to ask one last question, and
Yeah.
that is related to the learning lesson throughout your journey.
Yeah.
So, like, what you think, like, what's the most valuable lesson you have learned so far throughout your 20 plus years of training and consulting experience?
Well, I really do enjoy giving knowledge away. I love learning, but I
Mm-hmm.
love to give knowledge away. I've met people who've had bad experiences where partners don't show them how to do it. They just fix it, fix it, fix it.
Okay.
Or I had a client once that I flew out to Idaho. They told me they were told there are no manuals for GP. And at the time that was GP has all their knowledge base online. It was free. They had free manuals. So sharing knowledge to me is one of the most important things we can do, not just in the dynamics or GP world or software world. Sharing knowledge is a beautiful thing. And if you're stronger, everyone around us getting stronger, everyone
Mm-hmm.
does better.
Right.
The fear of giving away your knowledge to me, it just means my knowledge has to grow. And that challenge is what's kept me going. If I said I know these four things, I'm not going to tell anybody, and I'd done it for 20 years, I would have a boring life. I share my knowledge
Correct.
and I gather knowledge as fast as I can, learn it and dig into it and practice and test. So knowledge sharing is really the foundation of who I am.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Amber, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing so much information about the GP and your training model. It was really very nice talking with you, and I hope you also enjoyed the discussion. So thank
Yes,
you
I
once
did.
again.
Thank you. Thanks for reaching out. It's good to meet you and get to know you.
Thank you.